Shalom, everybody. My name is Officer Nahum. I'm here with IUIC Raleigh. Today's topic, I'm going to be going over making friend with the Mammon of Unrighteousness, okay? That's the title of the class is Making Friends with Mammon of Unrighteousness, all right? So we're going to start the class. We'll start off, let's start with Romans chapter 15 and verse 4 there, my reader.
Yes, sir. The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever thing were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
Right. So it's letting us know that for whatsoever things were written aforetime. So we know this Bible was written aforetime, right? This is the book of prophecies. So we could read about our foreparents, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today. These are, and those that are scattered through the diaspora throughout all four corners of the earth. We can read about our forefathers here, what they went through, things they did, things that they witnessed and seen. Hey, this is a something that's written for us to learn. You know, what was written for us in the Bible here for us to learn, for us to walk right in righteousness with the Most High God. Read that again. Read it again.
Verse 4, for whatsoever thing were written aforetime were written for our learning.
Right, the Bible was written for our learning, right? Because right now, we forgot who we were, so we want to come back to the remembrance of who we are, you know, what we need to do, things, you know, that's written toward us. Read.
That we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
Right, so we got to take whatever comes to us, we got to have patience. It's going to take some time. You're going to go through trials and tribulations, right? But it says, but this is where we're going to seek our comfort. Our comfort going to come from here, the scriptures, by the words of the Most High God, okay? That's where we get our hope, your hope, you know, in your faith. All right, so let's start off here with, give me Luke chapter 16 and verse 9 real quick. We're going to start off there, because that goes into the topic of what we're going into.
The book of Luke, chapter 16 and verse 9. And I say unto you, make you yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness.
Right, so, all right, so it's letting us know here, right? It says, hey, make ye friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, right? So what is this going into about friends, right? You know, who is the mammon of unrighteousness, right? So give me, IT, pull that definition of mammon real quick so we could touch on that. Pull up the definition of mammon. Yeah, so while he's pulling that up, you know, this is going into, the mammon could be going into the other nations. It could be going into our people that's in the midst of sin, you know, that don't know who they are, or, you know, that's into the world is what we call that's worldly. I mean, they're into the flesh. So we got the definition right there. You make it blow that up just a little. I don't know if you're able to blow it up so he can read that. All right, so this is the definition using the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. We're going to read the definition of mammon. Go ahead.
Definition of mammon, riches. The Aramaic word for riches. Christ used it as a life goal opposed to God. Matthew 6:24, Luke 16:13. Jesus also employed the word and the phrase mammon of unrighteousness, meaning money, in his parable of the unjust steward, Luke 16:11 and 13.
Right, so that's what we touched on. We touched on mammon, right? The mammon of unrighteousness. So this going into the other nations, this going into our people. You know, we got to know how to move and how to deal with the mammon, right? So with that right there, as we touched on the mammon there real quick, give me let me see here real quick. We're gonna read on down. Read that verse again, verse 9.
The book of Luke, chapter 16 and verse 9. I say unto you, make ye yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness.
Right, so hold that right there. So make ye unto the friends of the mammon of unrighteousness. So let's find out what is righteousness real quick according to the Bible. So get Deuteronomy chapter, you know what I want.
Yes, sir.
26 and 5. What I mean, you know what I want. 6 and 25.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 25. And it should be our righteousness.
He said this should be our righteousness, right? This is what is going into with application of righteousness. Read.
If we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us.
Right. So whenever we keeping the commandments of the Most High God, that was what make you righteous. Okay. So now we go back here to Luke 16 and 9. and it's talking about the mammon of unrighteousness, those that are in the midst of sin or those who don't know who they are. This is going into our people, right? Or is going into the other nations, which was not given God's law, statutes, and commandments, okay? Because they got their own thing going on. But we here in captivity, so we got to live peaceably, deal with these people, and because we got to deal with them in all kind of business. So read that verse again.
The book of Luke, chapter 16 and verse 9. And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations.
Right, so they may receive you, right? They may, look out for you. Most I put the Spirit on them to deal with you. Okay, you may have something. Let's say you have a situation happen at work. You might got written up or about to get written up, or have some kind of demerit or something at work. Hey, that boss of yours, he may be of the other nations. He may sit there. He may give you a chance. You're like, you know what? I'm not gonna write you up, but this is gonna be a verbal. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna speak to you. It may be harshly. You're not gonna be pleased with it, but hey, he gonna give you a chance. He'll give another chance. He's not gonna put it on paper. So that's what that goes into. Why? Because they may know of you to be of a good person. They're like, hey, we like you. We like your spirit. You know what I'm saying? Your personality, however you conduct yourself at work. So that's what this is talking about right here. How we conduct ourselves amongst the other people. All right, read on.
Verse 10, he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. He that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much.
Right, read.
If therefore ye have not been faithful in the righteousness of mammon, if ye have therefore not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon.
Right, so like now it's going into, we ain't been faithful. You've been moving around, acting wickedly, acting crazy, while you at work, you at school, you in your neighborhood, wherever you at, amongst the unrighteous of mammon, read.
Who will commit to your trust the true riches.
Right, that's how you may get a promotion on your job. You may get a bonus, everybody's watching you, how you move, how you conduct yourself, how you act, all your mannerism, all that stuff play a part in this right here, okay? So with that, let's go to let's go to Romans chapter 12 and verse 18. So we're gonna read about this, how we supposed to live. Because think about it, like back in the days, we had lived amongst each other. We had our own communities, but we had Esau. That I'm gonna say, like during the time of Christ, you had the Romans which was of the nation of Esau, or you had the Greeks in them during that time of Judas Maccabees. I'm just going into certain captivities. And we had to conduct ourselves a certain type of way. We couldn't, you can't just be out there acting all crazy, like our people today, they act like niggas, you know what I'm saying? And that's what people, they portray us as the majority of our people. So what we got to show them, we got to be a beacon of light amongst all people. But read.
The book of Romans, chapter 12 and verse 18. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men.
Right. So let you know, if it be possible. Why? Because you're going to have situations that's going to arise that you may have to get out of character, like, for example, for self-defense. Somebody may try to, defy your character, lie on you. You're going to have to defend yourself. You got to speak up for yourself in the right timing. But there's a way to do everything. But it said, if it be possible, live peaceably among all men. So we gotta live peaceably. You may see that neighbor, of course, they may be doing whatever, but hey, as long as you got that peace, hey, they'll look out for you. You know what I'm saying? You may have to do, I ain't saying you trimming your ways or anything like that, but, you may look out for them. Say, hey, man, somebody came and knocked on your door. You ain't familiar with that person. Or they may come at you with the same thing. Hey, we saw somebody in your driveway. We came out there to speak to them, to see who they were and what business they were doing because you wasn't home. So I'm just showing you that type of stuff. Some of y'all may have already witnessed that in your life. So we're gonna touch on on some of our forefathers here real quick. So let's go. We're gonna go to Genesis chapter 23. We're gonna start at verse 1. So this is something with our forefather Abraham, right? So our forefather Abraham, when he was walking the earth or whatever, he was living amongst the other nations, right? he had his people, which was which our forefathers and them. He had substances and things of that nature. He had his wife, his family, his kids. But let's see how he conducted himself amongst the other nations. So and at this time right here, what we're about to read on is when our foremother Sarah had passed. Okay, so now he's looking to purchase some land to have a burial place, for his generations. Read what you got.
The book of Genesis, chapter 23 and verse 1. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah.
Right, read.
And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba. And the same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her.
Right, read.
And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto his sons of Heth, saying.
Right, so we got our forefather, this Abraham. He's speaking to somebody of another nation, which was Heth, right? Heth was a Canaanite. The other people that dwelt in the land of Canaan, okay? You had different tribes. These are Hamitic tribes, okay? What we call today the native Africans or the Nilotic tribes, okay, that was dwelling there. So he had to deal with these people, while he lived there in the land. So let me see. Jump to verse, let me see here real quick. Read verse 4.
Verse 4, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you.
Right here they say, I'm a stranger, meaning he was not of the same nation or the same people as them, the same kindred. He said, I'm a stranger and I sojourn, I stay here amongst y'all. Read.
Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight.
Right. So now he's reaching, he's letting them know, say, hey, I need a burial place for my wife. You know what I'm saying? So she died, certain things, I need something to bury her, to put her in the proper burial place. Read.
And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, hear us, my Lord, thou art a mighty prince among us.
Right. So you got to ask yourself, why would they say he's a mighty prince amongst us? So it's like, Abraham, you got to think about it. He had great substance when he left Egypt, right? When you read Genesis chapter 12, right? When he left out of Egypt, Pharaoh gave him everything, all the gold, and he had manservants, he had slaves and everything, So when he came out, he still, Most High was blessing him. He multiplied, he said he was very, rich. So now he's dwelling there amongst the other nations, which was the Canaanites at the time. So while he was dwelling there, he was trading. He bought things from them. They bought things from him. He had to deal with them, in such a manner. Just like how we kind of deal with the other nations today amongst us while we are, scattered abroad. So read on.
In the choice of our sepulchres, bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead.
Read.
And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth.
Right. So no, even he had respect. Abraham showing you he bowed himself. He respected the other nations. Hey, he wasn't there. He wasn't being no nigga. He wasn't being acting crazy. Like, hey man, I need this right here. Because he had riches. But he knew how to deal with the other nations. How to deal with them. With Mammon. I'm gonna say it like that. So read.
And he communed with them, saying, if it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me and entreat of me to Ephraim, the son of Zahor.
Right. Say, go get this person here for me so I can speak to him, right? Because he sees somewhere where that'd be nice for him to use as a sepulcher, as a burial place. Read.
And that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you.
Right. It said amongst you guys, right? I might have a burial place amongst y'all, right? So, but he picked somewhere, it is at the end. If you notice it's probably somewhere that's secluded away. It's not like in the midst of their area or anything like that. He says it's off to the side somewhere. So that's what he said was on the end of his property, of his land, what he owned. So let's see here real quick. Read on down. We're gonna probably read this whole chapter. It's a small chapter. Read.
Verse 10, And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went at the gate of his city, saying,
Right. So they let you know this guy here, this particular person, he's he's a Hittite. You know what I'm saying? That was amongst one of the tribes of Canaan. You know what I'm saying? So that's who he was dealing with. Let me talk to him. He's got a certain place, and we're gonna conduct business with each other. So this is in the scriptures. Hey, you know, Abraham, he's dealing with them in a business matter. Read.
Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein. I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people, give I it thee. Bury thy dead.
Right. So now, you know, they both speaking. You know, if you notice what's taking place, there's other people around. You know what I'm saying? They want this thing to be known, and, you know, amongst witnesses. You know, that way nobody can say, hey, you know, he took the place, or he did this to me. You know, he didn't pay for it or whatever. Everything's been established amongst everybody within that land. Okay, read.
Verse 12, and Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land. And he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying.
Right there in the audience, right there in front of everybody. Read.
Saying, but if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there.
Right, he said, I'm going to pay for this thing. I believe the guy, he was going to give him the field anyway, just to give it to him. But it's just showing you know, hey, he was going to, you know, how much respect he had for Abraham. He had respect to, you know, like, you know what, you a good person. I've done dealt with you, or, you know, you and your peoples. Hey, you know what, I can just give this thing to you. You know what I'm saying? It's not a problem. But no, Abraham like, nah, I'm going to pay you for this. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to deal with you righteous, deal with you in the right way. Read.
And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, my Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. That is that betwixt me and thee. Bury therefore thy dead.
Read.
And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant.
Right. So now, you know, let you know they weighed the thing, you know, let you know everything was established amongst the rest of the people that was there amongst the land. You know, this, you know, if you look at it, probably was like a big old meeting. You know, they had all the elders there, all the people. You know, he said all his sons, so on and so forth. You know, he said I want this to be done and established. You know, there was paperwork is what, you know, something in writing was put down as well. You know what I'm saying? So that way everything would be established. Nobody got done dirty. Nobody got hurt. Right. Read.
Verse 17. And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field, and the cave, which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure.
Right, read.
And unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that was therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth.
Right. So now it's let you know, hey, before it was, you know, that other person. Now he's the owner. Now he got the deed. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's called today. You own a land, you get a deed, okay? Or you own a car, you get a title. All this stuff got to be established. But today, you know, we in the land of Esau, you know what I'm saying? You don't own nothing, you know what I'm saying? If you don't pay the taxes, guess what? They could take that from you. But back then at this time, you purchased it, that was yours. That's what you own. It was inherited to you. It was basically, how can I say, it was given to you. Now you pass it on down to your generations as an inheritance, okay? So now let's go here. We're going to touch on some more history here, show you some more examples. Give me give me Genesis chapter 34 real quick. We're going to go in here. We're going to show you how with Jacob, you know what I'm saying? This is a situation that happened amongst our one of our foremothers, you know what I'm saying? This is Jacob's daughter, right? So she, you know, she got defiled, you know what I'm saying? She ended up, you know, getting raped or whatever, or taken advantage of. So let's go to Genesis chapter 34, start at verse 1.
Yes, sir. The book of Genesis, chapter 34 and verse 1. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her.
Hear that? So he took her, he laid with her and defiled her. He pretty much just forced himself on her. He just, he took advantage of her. So, and she was defiled, because they wasn't married. You know what I'm saying? Just let you know the customs of the mother nations, they do whatever. They barbaric. But Most High give us laws, statutes, and commandments. There was commandments that was given out. A lot of people don't know, when you read in Genesis, Most High, he made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He gave them laws, statutes, and commandments to abide by.
Right.
Okay, how to deal with people, so on and so forth. But these other nations that they dwelt amongst, they ain't had no laws. They were crazy. So now we know that she was defiled, right? So let's jump to verse 13 real quick.
Yes, sir. Genesis chapter 34 and verse 13. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, and said, because he have defiled Dinah, their sister.
So hold that. So now, what I'm saying? So this is going into our forefathers. This is going into Levi and Simeon. Levi and Simeon today. Levi is the so-called Haitians today, and Simeon is the so-called Dominicans, right? Our people that live in Dominican Republic. It's the same island of Hispaniola, but they're separated by a river, One's on one side of the island, the other tribe is on the other side. So it's showing you, they said, you know what, we're gonna do something about this. So we're gonna since they defiled our sister, we're gonna deal with them such as. We're gonna get revenge. Read.
Verse 14, and they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us.
So they letting them know, say, if you go ahead on it, you know what, we'll do we'll make a whatchamacallit with y'all, a pact with y'all. You know what I'm saying? We'll but you're gonna have to keep one of our commandments, which it was to be circumcised. You know what I'm saying? You gotta circumcise your man. We can't just give our sister to you, because as you read early on in the chapter, the guy, the one that raped our foremother here, you know what I'm saying, he ended up, falling in love with our foremother. So they use that for an advantage that we can get back to them on some evil stuff that they did. Okay, so read that verse again.
Verse 14. And they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us.
Read.
But in this we will consider unto you, if you will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised.
Right, read.
Then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will deal with you, and we will become one people.
Right. So this is what we told them. You know what I'm saying? Two of our forefathers right here of the two tribes. So they was like, hey, if you do this thing here, we would deal with y'all such as. We will become one people. We'll make things happen. We'll make a pact, and we'll deal with one another. Read.
But if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and we will be gone.
Right. We'll leave. We'll step away. If y'all don't want to do this, we'll you know what I'm saying? Even though we know you love her, guess what? We're going to move her away. So, he not, that guy not thinking, he's already caught in his lust. He want to be with her, you know what I'm saying? So he's willing to do anything, you know what I'm saying, to make this thing work. Going into the, the Hivite in them. Read.
And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man defrauded not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father.
Right. So he went on and did that thing. He said, you know what? we're gonna make it that everybody we fall suit. We're gonna go ahead and get circumcised, right? So let me see where we at. We read on to what there. Read verse. Keep on reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 20. And Hamor and Shechem, his son, came into the gate of their city and communed with the men of their city, saying, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters.
Right. So the key thing about this verse here in verse 21, when you read on the top, it says, these men are peaceable, okay, with us. So it's letting you know, when Jacob was dwelling there in the land with these Hamitic tribes here, hey, they was living peaceably. They wasn't causing no havoc, no trouble. There was no evil, none of that stuff. Because we had to trade, we had to buy, sell. We had businesses and stuff that we did amongst these other nations. Okay, so this is this is what is it, about 3 generations after Abraham. So you got Abraham, he had his son Isaac, right? He had Jacob. Jacob had his 3 sons. So this is the 3rd generation here, and they was dealing nice. You know what I'm saying? They was being cool with everybody until this thing here happened. This is when things went left field. This is when we had to show out. Let them know we about business here. So you're not gonna disrespect us. You ain't gonna rape our daughters or our sisters, our women.
Right.
We not do nothing about it. So read that verse again, verse 21.
Verse 21, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Mm-hmm. Only therein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every man among us be circumcised as they are circumcised.
Right. Go to verse 25.
Verse 25, and it came to pass in the 3rd day, when they were sore, that 2 of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males.
Right. So now, it's let you know, it says, and it came to pass on that 3rd day. So you got to think about it now. They just, all of them got circumcised, right? So they was all them jokers was sore. So, they sitting there trying to heal up, foreskin gone. Hey, so the penis was sore, bleeding, they could barely probably walk. That's why it's a law for us to get it done when we 8 days old.
Right.
So, but them, they grown men. So, they got all the nerves and stuff down there. They were hurting down there. So, hey, they took, our forefathers them took advantage and said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and kill them. This is the perfect time. So, read on.
Verse 26, and they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out.
Read.
And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister.
Right. So now, when that took place, we killed all of them. You know what I'm saying? And, we took their spoil, all the things that they had. We took that thing. So jump to verse 30.
Verse 30, and Jacob said unto Simeon and Levi, ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land.
Right. So this is, this is our forefather Jacob. This is the father of the 12 tribes. So he's talking to his 2 sons. He said, hey, you making me look bad. You know what I'm saying? He causing me to stink now. Now you making, because we was known to be peaceable people.
Right.
And, what I'm saying? Now we over here amongst the other, now you don't kill all these the one set of tribes. You know what I'm saying? Amongst they got other family members there. Now you got us looking bad amongst this. So now we may have to fight these other nations may come together and fight against us because of what we did to their brethren. So read on.
And Jacob said unto Simeon and Levi, ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and among the Perizzites. And I being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house.
Right. So, this it's like the same situation, in the household, hey, your pops be like, hey man, why did you do that thing? Why y'all went, take matters in your own hand? You should have counseled with me or what, before y'all went and made, made your own thing, because now you don't cause it, made a big problem. So, but let's see what our forefathers them said to their father. Read verse 31.
And they said, should he deal with our sister as a harlot?
Right. So, they had to respond back. Hey, so what, we going to let him hold our sister out? You know what I'm saying? Like she one of they type of women. This is how they was looking at it as. They was like, nah, man. They was like, no, we couldn't do that, Dad. We had to take them out. That was being they disrespected us. When they disrespected her, they disrespected us. So we had to show them we don't take our kindness for weakness, pretty much. So that's what happened in there. So that's another example right there of how our forefather Jacob, how him, his sons and them, how they lived peaceably amongst the other people. But, of course, when that situation happened, they had to redeem themselves. Why? You got to show them you ain't no punks.
Right.
But, but there's a way of doing everything in a righteous way, but using wisdom, okay? So with that, let's go to, we're going to jump here to, I'm going to show you another situation here. Go to 1 Samuel chapter 27. We're going to read verses 1 through 6 here real quick. So we're going to read about our forefather David, okay? This is King David. He was going through trials and tribulations. He had one of his brethren, which was King Saul at the time. This is before David became king. So this is Saul. He had hatred. He had envy, jealousy, toward David. And he was doing David wrong. He wasn't dealing with his brother peaceably. So David had to go seek refuge elsewhere, right? So let's read about that. Read.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 27 and verse 1. And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul.
Right, so because Saul went and tried to kill him with a javelin. He said, I'm gonna nail him to the wall with it. Think about it, he took the spear and he threw it at him, you know what I'm saying? That thing went through the wall. He was like, I'm gonna pin him to the wall like an ornament, like a picture or something. So he said, I'm gonna nail David to the wall with it. So David had ducked that thing a couple times. Read.
There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines, and Saul shall despair for me to seek me any more in the coast of Israel.
Right. So now he said, I'm at the dwell. Now I got to go leave Israel. Why? Because at the time, think about it. What's his name? He was the king. Saul was the king of Israel. So he can have a bounty out there. You know what? Y'all kill. If you go ahead and seek David, kill him. I'll pay you so much money. You know what I'm saying? Just to put his head, to give me his head or bring him to me. So David was like, hey man, I gotta think wisely. I can't dwell in the coast of Israel no more. I might have to go leave and go to another nation, right? So you remember we was at war at the time against the certain tribes of the Philistines and all them and stuff. We were fighting amongst them, but David had peace amongst one of these kings, okay, in order for him to be able to dwell here. But read.
So shall I escape out of his hand.
Read.
And David arose, and he passed over with the 600 men that were with him unto Achish, the son of Aoch, king of Gath.
Right. So this is some Mayoch. We could say Mayoch, king of Gath. Right. So this is a king right here, one of the Philistines' kings. Right. So he said, hey, he escaped and went over there. David knew him. You know what I'm saying? And that guy knew of David. So they had some sort of peace amongst them. There was. He had made friend of the Mammon. Okay, of unrighteousness. Read.
Verse 3, and David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his two wives, Hananam, the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife.
Right. So David took his whole house, his family, and his men, the men that he trusted, the 600 men that was amongst him that loved David. So all of them went and they dwelt there for safety, for refuge. Okay. Read.
And it was told to Saul that David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him.
Right. So he wasn't Saul. He wasn't at the time worried to mess with David. Why? Because David was out of his jurisdiction. Read.
And David said unto Achish, if I have now found grace in thy eyes, let them give me a place to. I'm gonna read it again.
Read it again. Yeah.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 27 and verse 5. And David said unto Achish, if I have now found grace in thine eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country, that I may dwell there. For now should thy servant dwell in the royal city with thee. Right.
So, so David was like, hey, you know what? I'm not trying to dwell, I don't need to dwell in the royal city with you, where you at. If you could just give me a little city, little town, something like that where me and my people can dwell at, that way we won't be in your face or nothing won't happen, no issues and things of that nature, So David, he thinking wisely, on that thing. That way he got some peace. He's not amongst the sinners and, I'm gonna say people that's not in the truth. How can I say? This is another nation. Of course, they're not in the truth, So he's not amongst them in their customs, you know. So he got a place separate aside. But read.
Verse 6, Then Achish gave him Ziklag that day, wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the kings of Judah unto this day.
Right. So he ended up, you know, Judah, you know what I'm saying, ended up taking over that town. You know, the process of time, you read in the history, you know, we defeated them, you know, but that place there became one of our places, our cities and towns. Okay. So we read that in verse 6. I just wanted to show you, hey, David, he dwelt there amongst them. He kept the peace while he was there and amongst the Philistines, you know, so he found some grace. You know, Most High gave, you know, because he kept the commandments. So Most High gave him grace in the sight of his enemies. Okay, so that was one example. That was another example there. You know, King David, he had friends of Mammon as well amongst the other nations.
Right.
Okay. So now let's jump to let's see here real quick. I know I wrote my notes a little bit all over the place, but it's all good. All right, go to Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 1 real quick. We're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 29. So we'll see something here about our forefather here, you know, how he, you know what I'm saying, you know, what was given to him, what the Most High told him to speak to the children of Israel. Okay, read.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 29 and verse 1. Now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders which were carried away captives, and to the priests and to the prophets and to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon.
Right. So let you know, this is going into the southern kingdom right here. This is with Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, when they were carried away captive into Babylon, okay, by King Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonians, the Chaldeans. Okay, so he took them, you know what I'm saying, you know, while they was going there, he wrote a letter to them, you know, a epistle, a letter, you know, what we reading right here pretty much. He's bringing them out, he's showing them what they need to do, how they got to conduct themselves while they're in this captivity. Before we touch on that, I want to let's go to Baruch real quick. Go to Baruch chapter 3 and verse 8 real quick. We're going to touch on that, Baruch 3 and 8. Baruch is the epistle of, you know, he's one of Jeremiah's, you know, one of the people that Jeremiah brought up. Okay, you got that for me?
Yes, sir. The book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse.
Right. So now we've been scattered for a reproach and a curse. Right. You know. So, you know, as we've been scattered. So this is when, you know, this is part 2 of the scattered. First, you'll read about Northern Kingdom, which was today what you would call the Native American or the Hispanics, when they got scattered to the Assyrians. Okay, during the time of Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria. So now you're reading about the Southern Kingdom when they got scattered, when they went off, and the Most High said, "Hey, I'm scattering y'all to them because y'all did the same thing that your sister, that the Northern Kingdom had done." Okay, but now you scatter for a reproach, right, and a curse, right? Now you yet this day in your captivity. So wherever I send you to in these different lands, you know, was it more on that in Baruch 3?
Yes, sir.
3 and 8. Read on.
And to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God.
Right. I mean, it's when we broke the commandments, when we departed from God and start going into idolatry, okay, worshiping false gods and stuff. So let's go back to Jeremiah 29 and start at verse 4.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 29 and verse 4. Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon.
Read. Build
ye houses and dwell in them.
Right. So now, you know, when we get an instruction on what to do once we get into the land of Babylon, okay? Because there was different other little cities that was there in southern Iraq. The Northern Kingdom was already there, like in Nineveh, other different places. So at this time, Nebuchadnezzar, he had conquered Assyria, and he absorbed all their slaves, all their substances was under his power. Okay, so now when the Southern Kingdom got there, he gave instructions. Read that verse again, verse 5.
Verse 5: Build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them.
Right, that's like what's the same thing we're supposed to do here in this captivity. We here, hey, you know, keep the commandments, but live nice. Build yourself some houses, plant some gardens. Eat the fruits and things of that nature. You got livestock. You know what I'm saying? Hey, take care of your house. Read.
Take you wives and beget sons and daughters.
You have children, multiply, right? Read.
And take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased therein and not diminished.
Right, yeah, because even though you're at that poor and low state, hey, still live your life righteously, okay, while you get in this captivity. Read.
And seek the peace of the city.
Do what now?
And seek the peace of the city.
Hear that? That's the key thing, is seek the peace of the city, okay? That's what we're supposed to do. Wherever you go, you seek the peace. You don't want to be crazy, acting wild, and doing all this stuff like we see our people in the hood, the ghettos, and they in gang banging, all this crazy mess, man, and that's how our people look crazy, look wild to the other nations. and the crazy thing about it, the other nations, they follow whatever we do, whether it be good or evil, and they doing the same thing in those other countries where they from, right? So read that verse again.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 29 and verse 7. And seek the peace of the city, where I have caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord, for it. For in the peace thereof shall ye have peace.
Right, that's the key thing. In the peace thereof you shall have peace, okay? So that means you ain't supposed to be out here breaking these laws and stuff like that they may pass, as long as they don't go against, contrary to the Most High God's law, statutes, and commandments. But don't go out there and, get you a whole bunch of traffic tickets. Now you can't, you don't got so many tickets. You running the light. You done gotten car wrecks, you lose your insurance. You lose your insurance. Now you can't drive your car. Or now you got so many points, you can't obtain a driver's license,
Right.
So there's all these different type of law. I'm just using like the traffic law for an example. Right. So with that right there, I want to go to this right here. I was talking about live peaceably, right? So go to what I want here. Go to Romans 13 and 1 real quick. Hold that. Here's a precept for that right there. Romans chapter 13 and verse 1. And this is what it's going into.
The book of Romans, chapter 13 and verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers.
Right. So it said, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, right? Who were the higher powers? At that time, it was Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians. Today, we in America. America is your higher power. There's laws of the land that we got to be subject to. Okay, read.
For there is no power but of God.
Right. So there's no power but of the Most High. Because the Most High set them up in power. Right. Why? Because we didn't do what we supposed to do. We got put down. They got put on top. Read.
The powers that be are ordained of God.
Right. Hear that? The powers that be, they're ordained by the Most High. Read.
Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation.
Right. Hear that? They're going to receive to themselves damnation. Whenever you start breaking those basic laws and stuff that's here, the laws of the land, you're going to cause more havoc and problem for yourself. Now you can't get no job. Why? Because you got domestic violence. Why? You got a murder charge or a theft. Now you don't got a criminal record, a felony. You got a felony. People don't want to hire felons,
Right.
And it's hard for you to get a job. You making your life hard and miserable. So now you don't got no peace. And then it just causes you to be more further into where you're in the midst of, because that's all you know. Let's see here real quick.
You want verse 3?
Yeah, verse 3. Read verse 3.
Verse 3. For rulers are not a terror to good works.
Hear that? So the rulers are not a terror to good works. So if you're doing what you're supposed to do, those rulers they're not gonna mess with you. You seeking the peace of the land, they're not gonna mess with you. They look at you like, okay, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's not breaking no laws. There's nothing I could do, so we can't do nothing to them. And the most important thing is you keeping God's commandments, okay?
That's right.
All right, and the Most High will show favor for you. Read.
But to the evil wilt thou then not be afraid of the power?
Right. So the evil, but the evil people, they don't care. They live in lawless. They high on drugs, drunk, crack, cocaine, you name it. Read.
Do that which is good and thou shalt have praise of the same.
Right. So you do good, you will have praise of the same, man. You won't have no, you won't have your enemies being true enemies to you. You know what I'm saying? That enemy, that mammon, you know what I'm saying, will be able to, they'll look after you. You know what I'm saying? To a point, but you got to just know how to maneuver with them. Okay. With that, let's go back to where we was at and read Jeremiah 29 and read verse 7 again.
Yes, sir. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 29 and verse 7. And seek the peace of the city, whither I have scattered you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord for it. For in the peace thereof shall ye have peace.
Right. That's the key thing, is the peace, man. That's what you want. You want to live in peace. You don't want to have no issues, no problem, no dramas, or nothing like that. You want them bothering you, hey, just do what you told, okay? As long as you ain't breaking God's commandments. So now let's go to Matthew's real quick. Give me Matthew's chapter 10 and verse 16 real quick. Matthew 10 and 16. This, Christ show us how we supposed to move. Why you amongst these other nations? How you supposed to conduct yourself. Why? Because, you got them other nations, man. You got other people just watching you, and like they say, your first impression is your last impression. So read.
The book of Matthew, chapter 10 and verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves.
Right, because everybody amongst all those, the mammon, what they call the friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, they wolves, man. They looking to devour you, to eat you up. You know what I'm saying? This going into your pastors and all them, they all they want is your money. You know what I'm saying? You got the other nations, all they about your money, your business. Think about in the projects, or I'm gonna say in our communities, what you got in every corner. You got an Arab store, right? You got a what we call a smoke shop or something like that, some sort. And all they want is your money, your business. You know what I'm saying? You got fried chicken spots. You got what is it?
Beauty supply stores.
Beauty supply stores. These other nations own that, and we making them rich. Okay, right. And that's what that's going into. You gotta know how to watch those wolves. Okay, you gotta know how to tame them. read that verse again.
Yes, sir. Verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves.
Right. So be wise. It said, be wise as a serpent, like a snake. When a snake, if a snake come around, it's hard to see him. You won't necessarily hear a snake. Snake will come around, it will slither. It could probably go right between your legs. You'd be standing there for a while and wouldn't even know it crossed your path. Be wise as a serpent, and it said harmless as a dove. You know what I'm saying? A dove is a bird that fly around, it's harmless. It's not what do you call it? It ain't like a lion or a tiger. It's not going to attack you. You know what I'm saying? It's real harmless type of creature. Okay. So, but read on.
But beware of men.
Say what? Beware of who?
Beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues.
Right here, it tells us, but beware of the men. So beware of what men he's talking about. Unrighteous men, talking about your man. When I mean your man, I'm talking about our people. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because now you starting to affect their money or their business, so on and so forth with God's commandments. Now they ready to turn you in, or make up some lies and slander you. You know what I'm saying? Or want to start some trouble with you. So that now you don't got that peace. Now you got to deal amongst them. So but Christ showing us how you got to maneuver in these times of trouble, right? So read.
Verse 18, and ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles.
Right. So we're going to have, it's going to be a testimony against them and those Gentiles, those other nations, okay? That's, all of them is dealing with the friends of the mammon. So now we got to know how to deal with these people, how to maneuver amongst them, okay? Why? Because they're going to try to take you up to the council, try to get you arrested, get you killed, murdered, so on and so forth. All right, read.
But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak.
Right. It's gonna let you know what you're gonna, the Christ, Christ gonna put His Spirit on us and let us know what we need to say when that time come. Okay, so that way we not speaking of our own mind. You know what I'm saying? We're
Right.
going to speak on the spiritual mind, how Christ how he going to maneuver us. Read.
For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you.
Right, the Spirit of your Father, which going into Christ. The Spirit of the Most High is talking about Christ. Christ is the Spirit, the words in this Bible, okay? So, I'm going to show you an example of that. Go to Acts chapter 21 and verse 37 real quick. So, we read about our forefather here. This is our forefather, Paul. This is Acts chapter 21 and verse 37.
The book of Acts, chapter 21 and verse 37. And as Paul was led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar, and led us into the wilderness 4,000 men?
Right. So we're going to jump up just a little bit real quick. I forgot to put this in my notes, but we'll jump up. So we'll start at verse 28. Start at verse 28.
Yes, sir. The book of Acts, chapter 21 and verse 28. Crying out, Men of Israel, help. This is the man that teaches all men everywhere against the people.
Right.
And the law and the place. And further brought Greeks also into the temple and have polluted this holy place.
Right. So now it's going into this is what like the scribes and the Pharisees and what they were trying to do. They were trying to cause confusion here. They were saying that Paul was bringing in the Greeks. These Greeks that it was talking about was talking about Israelites that spoke Greek at the time. They just wasn't keeping the customs of the Most High. They had fell off and they was keeping the Greek custom. You read about that in the Maccabees. But we'll touch on that another time. I'm trying to make sure I stay on topic. So now they took, they caused an uproar. Now they want to take Paul and get him arrested, beat him up and things of that nature. Read on.
Verse 29, for they had seen before with him in the city of Trophimus and Ephesian, whom they supposed that Paul had brought into the temple.
Read.
And all the city was moved, and the people ran together and took Paul and drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut.
Right. So now they done shut the doors and everything. They're like, hey, we took him out of the temple. Now they get ready. They want to beat Paul up and kill him. Read.
And as they were about to kill him, tidings came into the chief captain of the band that all Jerusalem was in an uproar.
Right. So now as they're beating up Paul, they want to stone him and kill him. So now the information came. I mean, what do you call that? The information. The uproar came. It came to the chief captain. You know what I'm saying? The chief captain heard about this thing. Like, we got to go down there. What is this uproar? Not realizing this is spiritual. This is the Most High sending. He's sending the Spirit. He's sending the angel to make make this uproar happen so we can get the chief captain, get him to come down there before they kill Paul. Read.
Who immediately took soldiers and centurions and ran down unto them. And when they saw the chief captain and the soldiers, they left beating of Paul. The beating of Paul.
Right, because they was planning to beat Paul to death. We're going to stomp him out. We're going to kill him. So Paul, he not getting beat up. You got to think about this. Picture this, we done seen people in the hood get jumped. A lot of us came from that type of lifestyle. And, Paul getting beat up by a mob of people, angry people, right? So, hey, the Most High had the Spirit send, go send the centurions, the soldiers in them, hey, go over there and break that mess up. You know what I'm saying? So read.
Then the chief captain came near and took him and commanded him to be bound with 2 chains.
Right. So they came and they arrested Paul. Because the people were saying, yeah, he over here causing this and doing this. So they came and they grabbed Paul, arrested him, and bound him. Read.
And demanded, who is he and what have he done?
Right, read.
And some cried one thing and some another among the multitude.
Right, so everybody's saying they think he did this, he did that. Just like what we was reading here in Matthew 10, you're going to be brought up to the, to people of higher power, and they're going to be sought to kill us or arrest us, persecute us. Read.
And when he could not know certainly for the tumult, he commanded him to be carried into the castle.
Right. So, it was a lot going on, a lot of commotion. So the chief captain said, hey, come into bring him into the castle. Read.
And when he came into the stairs, so it was that he was born of the soldiers for the violence of the people.
Right, so they had to carry him. That's how bad they beat Paul. They beat him up so bad they had to pick him up. That's what that word B-O-R-N-E, born, means carried. He had to be carried, because he was kind of dazed, knocked out or whatever, hurt, beat unconscious. Read.
For the multitude of the people followed after, crying, away with him.
Right, so they talking, take, get his butt, get him. Throw, I want him. Everybody saying their piece, probably calling him names, spitting on him, ain't no telling. Read.
And as Paul was led into the castle and said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee?
So now Paul, gained the conscience. He said, hey, can I speak to you, sir? So Paul using wisdom, he know how to speak. He know how to speak multiple languages. Read.
Who said, canst thou speak Greek?
Right, he said, so the chief captain said, hey, can you speak Greek? You can speak that Greek language. That was like a prestige language at that time. Read.
Art not thou that Egyptian?
He asked Paul, he said, Paul, aren't you that Egyptian? You got to think about it. If he's saying Paul, he mistaken Paul for an Egyptian. I mean, Paul was a dark-skinned, tall, skinny man. You know what I'm saying? Because the Egyptians were dark. The original Egyptians were dark-skinned, not the ones you see that them Arabs or Greek babies or whatever. That's not the true Egyptians, okay? So the true Egyptians will be the ones that you see, the Watusis up in the Sudanese, up in Sudan. They kind of tall in stature. That's what they talking about. Paul looked kind of like that towards them. He was a tall black man, okay? Read that verse again.
Verse 38. Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar, and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers?
Right. So now he's asking Paul, because they already they already have today. When they see a bunch of us, let's get about 4 or 5 of us together. Guess what? They thinking evil.
Right.
Some people they thinking like, oh, something about to happen. These are niggas right here. These are thugs. Criminals. That's what people think. The other nations think that. I remember when I was in the military, right, and I went to Egypt, right? We would go, we had some training we had to go do. So we went to the pyramids, and I remember the little kids in them. At this time, I'm like 19 years old. Little kid like, hey, black man, hey. And, he just talking in such a way that they can speak good English over there, all these different countries. Now, even the same thing happening when I was in Iraq. The little kid, they trying to sell you something. And they talking, the black man, and they trying to walk like how we walk, like they pimping or something, with his step.
Damn.
But it's to show you the stereotype. They think that that all us is the same way. You know what I'm saying? That they may portray us as on TV or through the media. They portray us to be like we lazy, we ain't no good for nothing.
Right.
But, that's what that chief captain, he looking at Paul like, hold up, you a damn nigga. You a black nigga. You cause her up, bro. I know your type of people. Let's see how Paul spoke to him. Read.
Verse 39. But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarshish, and a city in Sicilia, a citizen of no mean city.
Right. He said, I'm a prestige type person too. I'm not from no mean city. I'm not from no ghetto or no projects or nothing like that. I came from a good city, you know what I'm saying, where my people dwelt at, right? Read.
And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people.
Right, he telling us, I beseech you, you know what I'm saying? Hey, let me speak to the people. Let me speak to the people in the synagogues, okay? So let's find out what happened. Read on.
And when he had given him license.
He given him what?
License.
So he got license, you know what I'm saying? When he spoke to the people, when they seen Paul, they probably asked him for some identification, who he was. I'm pretty sure he was able to present that and show what he know and how to speak to the people. So that was of the Spirit of the Most High, what we read back in Matthew 10. Okay, read.
Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue, saying.
Right, so, he just went on in there, he started preaching and talking to the people, that letting them know, hey, what happened, what took place, and what they need to be doing. You read about that in chapter 22, but we're not going to read in that. I just want to show you how, what Paul did, how he had to make friend with the Mammon, how, of the things that he knew, of the criteria that he had, how he was able to use that thing, and not, he didn't burn no bridges and things of that nature. So,
right.
So IT, let me get that that first video I sent to you real quick. You know, I got a couple little videos little clips I want to play. You know, let's see what that first video there is. This is what is it? One of the Wayne brothers, the youngest one.
Marlon Wayans.
Yeah, Marlon Wayans, right? I know y'all watched the I forgot what the brother, what was
Breakfast Club.
Yeah. So this is the Breakfast Club right here. All right, let's see what he was saying right here pertaining to burning bridges, because a lot of our people, we're coming to this when we get this strong zeal. We don't realize we'll try to force this truth on the people and say the wrong things. Why? Because we ain't been taught right on how to move. And you mess around and say too much, you can burn your bridges and cut off friends, you know, cut off people that you knew in the world that could help benefit you, you know, or benefit things for the nation. Read. Play.
White people call each other. They pick up the phone. They'll argue on the phone, and at the end, they'll pick it up again and go, hey, I got this deal that we should do together. Brothers, we get all mad, we air it out, and we don't, that's why we burn bridges.
Right.
We don't build bridges. We have to build bridges, not burn them. When you burn them, they don't burn them. They keep their cities popping. We burn our bridges. I don't do that. Ego would tell you all this negative shit to make you not do the deal.
Right. So he was touching on showing the aspect of how us people of color, how we burn bridges, how we don't deal with our people right, or we don't deal with the other nations right, just acting crazy, you know what I'm saying? But he's showing like the other nations. He was using Esau, for example, you know, when they deal with one another. Let's say they might have had some strife or beef, but they were still willing there to deal with one another, to help each other out, to make the business flourish. Us, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to deal righteously. We don't have good morals on how to deal with our people, okay?
Right.
Let's see here real quick. Let me see what I have here. We'll read about some more things here. What I want here. So we're going to go back to another one of our forefathers here. Let's go to Genesis chapter 39 and verse 1 real quick. So we're going to read about Joseph here real quick. This is our forefather Joseph, you know, when he got sent to Egypt. He went there, you know, when he went there, he was a slave. His brothers sold him into slavery, you know, because they were jealous of him. So let's read about what he went through, things he dealt with while he was in captivity. Go ahead.
The book of Genesis, chapter 39 and verse 1. And Joseph, who was the book of Genesis, chapter 39 and verse 1. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which brought him down hither.
Right. So our forefather Joseph, right? So he was bought as a slave, and his slave master was Potiphar. Okay, he was the captain of the guard. Okay, he was like a prison guard. So he had Joseph in his house. He said, I'm gonna buy this slave right here, and let's see what took place with Joseph. Okay, read.
Verse 2, and the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man.
Hear that? The Lord Most High was with Joseph. Why? Because he kept the commandments. So he made his way prosperous, like it says in Joshua 1 and 8. Read.
And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand.
Right. So he said, every time he said, this guy right here, man, this dude here, he know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? I could see him getting blessings. You know what? Also, he was getting blessed, the slave master. You know what I'm saying? He seen what he was doing. Whatever he does, this guy does a good job at what he do. And I can see the effects of it because it's making me prosper. Read.
And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house.
Right. So you got to look at, the process of time. So now Joseph, he ended up getting a promotion while he was in captivity. So now, the slave master, like, you know what? I'm going to promote this guy right here. You know what? I'm going to put him in a position I could trust him.
Right.
This guy here, he's got good values, morals, and he knows how to maneuver, how to deal such as. So I'm going to promote him. This is an example how we got to be at our jobs. Okay. You want to, we're looking to get the promotion, to get the bonus, to get more money, to help provide for our family and our nation, right? So you got to know how to conduct yourself. You can't walk around crazy, pants sagging, just looking all wild. Our forefather didn't conduct himself such as. You got to think about it. When Joseph came there, he was sold as a slave. I think he was 15 years old. He was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? And he came there and he worked his way up. Worked his way up to the top in the position of his slave master's house, where he worked at. So read that verse again.
Verse 4, and Joseph found grace in his sight and served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had put into his hand.
Right. He said, I'm gonna let you deal with that. He trusted him on. He said, I can trust him. Things gonna get done. I know if I have him do it, he gonna do it. Read.
And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake.
For Joseph's sake, you know what I'm saying? Why? Because Joseph stayed there, because Joseph was doing what he's supposed to do. Hey, Most High say, this is where he dwelling at. This is where I got him situated. 'Cause everything happened for a reason. It was a reason why he had to go into this situation. We all gonna have trials and tribulations. So we here yet in our captivity, but we still got to make peace where we at. So he had peace here. You know what I'm saying? Not only he just had peace amongst his slave master. You got to think about it. He was overseer of the house. So there was other people that was there that had duties. There was other male servants. There was other female servants there, right? So Joseph took care of them too. He was overseer, make sure they did what they were supposed to do. We'll see the effects of that as well. But read on.
And the blessings of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. Mm-hmm. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored.
Hear that? Joseph, he was a goodly person and well favored. This, you got to think about it. Because Joseph had wisdom, you know what I'm saying? He could speak to this person. He like, man, I like conversating with him. You'll see that amongst all our forefathers. The kings and them, or people who was in higher power, they love having conversation with us. Why? We have counsel. I'm matter of fact, hold that. Give me go to Tobit 4:19 real quick. Tobit chapter 4 and verse 19. I just want to touch on this. I was thinking about it, crossed my mind, but I just wanted to touch on it. Tobit 4:9. Let me see. Let me make sure. 4:19.
Yes, sir. The book of Tobit, chapter 4 and verse 19. Bless the Lord thy God always, and desire of him that thy ways may be directed.
Right. So we know Joseph, his ways was directed in the path of the Most High, right? But like you said, we'll read about some things that's going to take place. So read.
And that all thy paths and counsels may prosper.
Right. He said, all your paths and counsels may prosper. Remember, Joseph was prospering here in Potiphar's house for some time, right? Read.
For every nation have not counsel.
Read that again.
For every nation have not counsel.
Hear that? Every nation don't have counsel. That's one of our senses, is to give counsel. Okay. That's why our forefathers, they were always good counselors,
right?
That you read about in history. But read.
But the Lord himself giveth all good things, and he humbleth whom he will. As he will, now therefore, my son, remember my commandments, neither let them be put out of thy mind.
Right. So the key thing is that I was wanting to touch on was counsel. Okay. So read verse 6 again.
The book of Genesis, chapter 39 and verse 6. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and that he knew not aught he had.
Right, because the slave man, he didn't know everything that he had. He didn't know all that stuff. Like, hey, there was things that he may have had that he was saving, or he had extra stuff. He didn't know that, but Joseph knew how to what he had and how to save bread, how to save money. I just caught on to something here. Read that part there again.
Genesis 39 and verse 6. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat.
Right. So, this kind of going to that the same situation with Pharaoh. Remember, Pharaoh had the dream, and he couldn't interpret it. And Joseph was able to save the food for everybody, so everybody to survive that famine. But this is some knowledge and wisdom that the Most High gave our forefather Joseph. They give to the Israelites. Okay, read.
Save the bread he did eat, and Joseph was a goodly person and well favored.
Right, so he was a goodly person and well favored in the eyes of Potiphar. Okay, Potiphar liked dealing with him. Okay, so now let me see here. Let's go to what was that? 39. We'll start at verse 11 real quick. So just to catch you up, I mean, so now Potiphar's wife, she started lusting after Joseph, and she wanted to lay with him. But Joseph was like, "Nah, I can't do that thing. I'm not going to sin." Because he knew it was a sin against the Most High. Because it goes into adultery and fornication. Okay, so read on, verse 11.
Genesis 39 and verse 11. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men in the house therewith.
Right, now here temptation comes, right? This happens to all men. Read.
And she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out.
So Joseph left, right? So jump down to verse 19.
Verse 19. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, "After this manner did thy servant to me," that was his wrath was kindled.
Right. So now she making she lying, she lying on Joseph. So now, Potiphar, what I'm saying, he's upset about the situation. But read on.
And Joseph's master took him and put him to prison, and place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in prison.
So now Joseph got put in prison. Why? Because of what Potiphar's wife, what she lied. She made up a story. She was the one that came on to him. But Joseph was a goodly person. He kept the commandments. He wasn't about that type of life. So read. Let me see where we at right here. Go to jump.
121.
Yeah, go to 21.
But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
Right. So now you got to remember. So Joseph, remember, he was overseer of everything. He was the servant that was there. Joseph dealt with the rest of the prison guards and all that stuff. He made sure he took care of them. So, the Most High give him favor while he was there in the prison. Right. So those people, you got to think about it. He dealt with everybody. He was well favored. So everybody, they going to look out for him. They know he didn't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they was there and said, we're going to look out for you. You was a good person to me, so now I'm going to do something good to you. Read.
And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it.
He was the doer of it, right? So he was the one that was well in charge of everybody that was there in the prison. But that was, at the time, this was the safest place for him to be. This is where the Most High wanted him to be at, okay? Read.
The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper.
Hear that? So the Lord made that thing to prosper, okay? But just to show you, Joseph he had to deal with the other nations. He had to deal righteously amongst them. You know what I'm saying? While he was there, he had to be an example. People and everybody had favor, and they liked him. They were like, "Damn, man, this is a good guy right here." You know what I'm saying? This man here, he took care of me. You know what I'm saying? While I'm here, because we all servants of Potiphar. Hey, this man here, I'm going to look after him as well. Okay, he didn't burn no bridges like we read. Give me that second video, the second video there, real quick. Let me see what we got here. The second. I'm trying to remember what's the name of that. You play the second video. So this is another video. This is an Edomite here. This is also going to burning bridges right here. So we'll see what he says here real quick. Read what go ahead and play what you got. You got started over.
You cannot burn bridges. Yes, if you want to be on the path of financial freedom, you never know who you could do business with, who you might need on your team that could take over because they're a rock star. But if you burn a bridge on your path, you might meet them somewhere down the line, or that company down the line. and it's going to determine your next stage of success. And if you burn that bridge, they're probably not going to do it for you. They're probably not going to work for you. They're probably not going to stay with you. So don't burn bridges on your path, because I can see how it delayed them the success that they're looking for.
Right. So, yeah, so it let you know there's another example there of burning bridges. So it showed you Joseph, he didn't burn no bridges with people. Right. You know, even though that thing happened with with that wife, how she lied to him, but we know he was a well-favored person, so he didn't burn no bridges, you know, and now it come to the point he's at his low stage. Hey, those people that was there was able to, you know, to look out for him. Why? Because you never know when you're gonna need somebody, or when you need some help. You know what I'm saying? You never know that thing. And that's why you should never burn bridges, okay?
That's right.
Let me see here. We're gonna jump down to, go to chapter 40 and verse 1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 40 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt.
Read.
And Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers.
Right. So now there's some more people got put in prison here with Joseph. Right. So Joseph. So now you got a chief of the butler, and you had the chief of the bakers, the cook. Right. So they was in the prison thing with him. So read verse 3.
Verse 3. And he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard unto the prison, the place where Joseph was bound.
Right. So this is where Joseph was at. Right. So they in the same place with him. Right. So read on.
And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, and they continued a season in ward.
Right. That season goes in, the time. Right. So they was locked up for some time, but it said Joseph was there to serve them. Remember, Joseph was the overseer. So he took care of them while they was there in the prison. Read.
And they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in prison.
Read.
And Joseph came unto them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad.
So Joseph, he looking at them, he could see their countenance. Their countenance was down. He like, man, some ain't right with them real quick. Let me see what's going on with these guys. Read.
And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in ward of his lord's house, saying, wherefore look ye so sadly today?
He asked me, he come down, he say, man, why y'all looking so sad, man? Why y'all face all down? What's wrong, man? Read verse 8.
Verse 8, and they said unto him, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? Let them tell me them, I pray you.
Right. So now, now what we reading here, you reading about how Joseph, right? How he dealing with the people, with the butler and the chief butler and the chief baker. Okay. So now they have their dream. There were certain things that took place. So let's read on down. Where we at? Verse what?
That's we at verse 8. No, verse 9.
Verse 9. All right, drop down to verse 13.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee into thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when thou wast with butler.
Right. So as you read on, pretty much. So we know that the chief butler, he lived. He had a second chance. He got put back into where he was at. But the baker, he got killed. Okay, that's what their dreams were, the interpretation of what they couldn't understand it. So why that took place? Let me see here real quick. Where is it at here? Where's that verse that I want? So Joseph told him. Read verse 14.
Verse 14. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness.
He said, think upon me, makes it. Don't forget about me. When you're let out, please don't forget about me. You know what I'm saying? Show kindness to me. Why? Because Joseph showed kindness to them. He dealt with them. He took care of them,
right.
Built them up, read.
And show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of his house.
Right. He said, bring me out of this house, man. I'm ready to go. And he's locked up. He's been there for some time, probably a few years or so. And he like, man, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get up out of here because I'm innocent. You know what I'm saying? But read on.
For indeed I was stolen out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I been done nothing that should be put me in. First, start again. The book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse 15. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that I should be put me into dungeon.
Right. So he's letting them know, he's like, hey, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm doing good, you know, I ain't done nothing wrong to get locked up into this prison. You know what I'm saying? You know, but just think about me, man. Please don't forget about me. Okay? So let's see here real quick. Let's read. Let me see. So we read that part there. So we know the outcome, you know, in the process of time, you know, Joseph ended up coming out. He was set up second in command over Egypt. You know, he interpreted the dream for the Pharaoh. Hey, you know, and to let you know he was a goodly person. You know, that guy remembered him. The guy said, you know what? I remember there's a guy here that can interpret your dreams. Hey, he took him out of that situation. But actually, you know what? We're gonna jump ahead. Let's go to Daniel real quick. We'll read about our forefather Daniel. Go to Daniel chapter 1, verse 1 real quick.
The book of Daniel, chapter 1 and verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it.
Right, he did what? He besieged it, right? So now this going into showing you this is when the captivity happened with the southern kingdom, okay? With Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. This is when Nebuchadnezzar came and conquered them. All right, so now he was coming to besiege it. So now jump down to we'll read on down.
And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, in the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. Right,
so they took all our treasures, all our belongings and stuff. They took it in and he locked it up into his area. You know, he had to put in it, and he had the vessels and all that stuff carried away and locked up. Read.
And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and the princes.
Right. So read.
And the children of whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in wisdom.
Right. They were skillful in all wisdom. Right. These are smart people. These weren't no dummies right here. So this is going into just let you know what Daniel was amongst these people here. Okay. Read.
And skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Right. So they strategically pick, handpick these people. Like I want this person, that person. They ain't just pick anybody, and they say we got to be able to have them sit amongst, the royalty, amongst the kings, the princes, so on and so forth. That to be in the king's court, and these people got to have mannerism, wisdom, and knowledge. I want them amongst my people, you know what I'm saying? Why? So I can counsel with them. This is what the king was thinking, okay? Read.
And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Right, so that's Daniel, and it's going into the 3 holy children, okay? They say amongst them was them, okay? So we're going to jump, let me see here real quick. Read on.
Yes,
Jump to verse 8.
Yes, sir. Verse 8. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
So now, he had to go present himself to the prince of the eunuch, right? He had to deal with this person. This is the chief person that dealt with the eunuchs. He's like, hey, let me speak with you real quick. Let me deal with you. I'm gonna let you know I can't. I don't want to eat this stuff. This stuff is going to defile my temple. So read on.
Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs.
Right. Because he dealt with them righteously. Right. He dealt with them. Read.
And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who have appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse? Why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort?
Right. Jump down to verse 12.
Verse 12. Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us posts to eat and water to drink.
So he gave him he said, look, let me eat this type of food right here. This will be our diet, and I guaranteed you, hey, we're gonna look like we've been eating. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be eating something healthy, but it's gonna fatten us up. You know, so that we don't have to eat that defiled food. Read.
Then let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thy servants.
Right. So, read verse 14.
Verse 14. So he consented to them in this manner, and proved them 10 days.
Right, and he proved them 10 days, right? So let me see this real quick. So now he proved them. So let's we're going to jump real quick. Jump to verse 18.
Verse 18. Now,
verse 17.
Verse 17. As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams.
Right, because we read about Daniel, how he interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream, right? Read.
Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar.
Right, so now he brought Daniel and them into the king so he can deal with the king. Because you got to think about it, when we was coming when they led us out of, when they besieged us, we were starving. We were malnutrition, we were skinny, bony. Hey, so now they got to fatten us up, you know what I'm saying? So that's why, but he knew Daniel and the 3 holy children, they knew what to eat, not to defile their temple, so on and so forth. So now it's time for them to come to the king, but read on.
And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king.
Right, so now this is what they counsel with the king. So the king like, you know what, I got these people here, I like them, right, I could deal with them. Read.
And in all manners of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm.
Right, so I found them better. Why? These people here, they had the wisdom and the knowledge of the Most High God. Okay, they had, this is always, remember that what I brought out in Tobit 4:19. It said all nations don't have counsel. Okay, we got that counsel. That's a sense that all nations don't have. Okay, read that last verse 21.
And Daniel continued even into the first year of King Cyrus.
Right, to that first year of King Cyrus. So give me, with that, we're going to jump to, give me Bel and the Dragon real quick. Bel and the Dragon, verse 1. So we're going to go in the pocket we're going to hit this up real quick. This is show proof.
The book of Bel and the Dragon, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Read.
And King Astyages was gathered to his father, and Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom.
Right, so now we're going back to Cyrus. Remember, we said all the way up through to King Cyrus, where we read in that last verse in Daniel chapter 1, verse 21, right? So read. And
Daniel conversed with the king and was honored above all his friends.
Right, so Daniel, he was honored above all his friends. This guy enjoyed conversation and talking and counseling with Daniel. Why? Daniel full of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Okay, and just showing you, he didn't burn no bridges. He didn't act such a way. Hey, he was there dealing with him to build him up. Okay, so now we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5 real quick. Go there real quick.
Yes, sir. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land whether you go to possess it.
Right, read.
Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations.
Hear that? When you keep these commandments, this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. So everybody looking at you like, dang, these people here got their stuff together. This is how we need to be. Read.
Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this is a great Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
Right, this is what they're going to say about us, but they don't say that about us today. Read.
For what nation is there so great, who have a God so nigh unto them? As the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for.
Right. So that's it, just showing you how we supposed to be. You know, we gotta be a light and a beacon to everybody. Let's see here real quick. Go to Jeremiah 2:33 real quick. Just to show you, once we amongst everybody, we amongst our people, you know, we ain't supposed to trim our ways. We can't break the commandments. Okay. I mean, you know, things happen when it's against your will. If you got to work on the Sabbath day because they forcing you to do it, but don't volunteer for that. Get Jeremiah 2:33.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 2 and verse 33. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways.
Hear that? Don't seek. This is dealing with your family and your friends. I'm talking about your friends of your nation. Don't trim your ways to seek love. Why? Because then you're gonna teach them how to break the commandments. Because now you're gonna trim your ways. Now you're gonna seek down to their level. Okay, so we're gonna, I'm gonna cut my class here short a little bit. I have a few more to go, but read. Go to. Let me see here real quick. Go to where my scripture at here. Give me Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 34. Proverbs 14:34.
The book
Since we touched on, these topics of what our forefathers, how they dealt with people that was over them. Read.
The book of Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 34. Righteousness exalteth a nation.
So remember, righteousness in Deuteronomy 6:25, keeping the commandments. So righteousness exalt a nation, right? This is how we will be exalted. This is how our forefathers were exalted while they was in captivity, because they kept the commandments. Okay, right? Righteousness exalt a nation. Read.
But sin is a reproach to any people.
Hear that? Sin is a reproach to any people. Okay, you in the midst of sin, that's a reproach against the Most High, and Most High like, hey, I'm not gonna show you favor. Read.
The king's favor is toward a wise servant.
Hear that? The king's favor is toward a wise servant. Like we read about our forefather Daniel, Joseph. You got certain prophets in them. They was all there during that time, during that whatever captivity they were in. They had prestigious jobs. They would have to deal with other people. But hey, you know what I'm saying? As long as you keep the commandments, hey, Most High is going to do right with you, and that king that's over you is going to take care of you as well. Read.
But his wrath is against him that causeth shame.
Hear that? If you cause shame, that also going to us. As a nation, you burn bridges and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Hey, guess what? Hey, you're going to cause shame amongst yourself and amongst your people, okay? So with that, I'm going to end my class with that right there. That's what I'm going to end it in. Again, I'm Officer Nahum. I'm here with IUIC Raleigh, North Carolina. And the topic was, the title of the class was Making Friend with the Mammon of Unrighteousness, okay? And, you can reach us. You can see us. Come subscribe to IUIC Raleigh, North Carolina at YouTube or on Facebook. All the other social media. We got all the different social media groups. Just look up IUIC Raleigh. You can find us, subscribe to us, and we would love your support. So with that, we say shalom. Most High in Christ bless.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. It's nation time.
And finally, my brethren, be strong